First up, cloud identity. This is all about the people. Your employees, the contractors you bring in, any partners, basically any human who needs to get into your Google Cloud environment securely.
Now here's the key thing the exam is going to test you on. It's not just about manually creating a user here and there inside Google Cloud. No, it's all about integrating with what your company already has, like Active Directory or Okta, and building a secure bridge between them.
And this right here is the magic of doing it right. By syncing your main company directory with Google, things like offboarding become automatic. An employee leaves, their account gets disabled in one place, and boom, their cloud access is gone. No frantic manual cleanup needed. Talk about a huge security win.
Okay, so if you really want to nail this on the exam, you've got to get comfortable with these topics. You need to understand how Google Cloud Directory Sync, or GCDS, does that one-way sync. You need to know how to set up single sign-on. Be totally solid on the best practices for protecting those super powerful super admin accounts. And finally, really get your head around user lifecycle automation and the newer Workforce Identity Federation.
Okay, so we've covered the humans. Let's switch gears and talk about the non-human identities, the ones that run your applications, service accounts. You got to remember, these accounts are a huge target for attackers, so securing them is absolutely critical.
So the absolute gold standard for this is a concept called workload identity. Think about the old way. You generate a static JSON key. It's basically a password that just sits there forever, rarely getting changed. If that thing ever leaks, an attacker has a permanent key to your kingdom. Workload identity completely flips that. It gives your code temporary, automatically rotated credentials that expire really fast.
And this example just brings it all home, doesn't it? If an attacker nabs a static key, they could have access for months, maybe years. But with workload identity, that same stolen credential is totally useless in less than an hour. You're taking that blast radius, the amount of damage an attacker can do, and shrinking it down to almost nothing.
So for the exam, make sure you know this stuff inside and out. The risks that come with default service accounts, how to audit and rotate keys if you absolutely have to use them, how impersonation lets you act as a service account without needing a key at all, and how Workload Identity Federation applies all this goodness to things running outside of Google Cloud, like in GitHub Actions.
Okay, so we've got our identities all set up. Now the next question is, how do we make sure they really are who they say they are each and every time they try to access something? That's where user authentication comes in.
And the hero service here is Identity Aware Proxy, or IAP. Seriously, think of it like a bouncer at an exclusive club. It stands at the very edge of Google's network and checks the ID of every single request. If you're not on the list, you're not getting in. Your application code is never even touched.
This is just a total game changer for remote access. No more clunky, slow VPNs. You just wrap your app with ISAP. And look at this. A contractor's project is over. You just remove them from a Google group, and their access is cut off instantly. It is literally that simple, that fast, and that secure.
All right, to round out your knowledge here, make sure you know how to configure password and session policies, understand how SAML works for applications, and this is a big one, know how to enforce two-step verification. And please pay close attention to the difference between a weaker method like a text message and a super strong phishing-resistant hardware key like FIDO2. The exam loves scenarios about this. So, our user has proven who they are, they're authenticated. The next big question is, what are they actually allowed to do? And that, my friends, is authorization. It all boils down to one critical idea, the principle of least privilege.
This healthcare example is just perfect. See, the application doesn't get some generic editor role for the whole project. No way! It gets hyper-specific permissions for only the database and the storage bucket it absolutely needs to do its job. So if it gets compromised, the damage is contained. That right there is least privilege in action.
Now, you absolutely have to understand the difference between allow and deny policies. Allow policies are how you grant access. They're additive. But a deny policy, that's the trump card. It's a hard no. It explicitly blocks something, and it doesn't matter what other allow policies exist. Deny always wins.
And when access isn't working right, think of these three tools as your IAM Swiss Army knife. The recommender helps you shrink oversized permissions. The policy analyzer helps you audit who has access to what. And the policy troubleshooter is your best friend for figuring out exactly why someone's access was denied.
Okay, the exam isn't just going to ask you the easy stuff. It's going to throw these advanced controls at you. Be ready for IAM conditions, which can grant access based on things like time of day or IP address,
No Access Context Manager for checking device security, understand Privileged Access Manager for short-lived, just-in-time elevated access, and of course, know how to manage it all at scale using Google Groups. And finally, let's zoom all the way out. How do you apply all these security rules across, say, hundreds of different projects without losing your mind? Well, the answer is by using Google Cloud's resource hierarchy. The key concept to grab here is inheritance. You don't have to go into every single project one by one to set security rules. Instead, you set the policy at a higher level, like a folder or even the whole organization, and it just automatically flows down and is enforced on everything underneath it.
And this example is just perfect. It shows you the real power here. The bank sets a data location rule just one time on their EMEA folder. From that moment on, it is impossible for any developer working in that part of the organization to accidentally create a server in the wrong part of the world. It's preventative security. You're stopping the problem before it can even happen.
So to really lock this down for the exam, focus on designing good folder structures, automating how you create new, secure projects, writing your own custom org policies when you need to, and of course, deeply understanding that relationship between how permissions are inherited versus how denied policies can override them.
Wow. Okay, we have covered a ton of ground here to help you master Section 1. But I'm going to leave you with one final question to think about. After you've set up all the technology perfectly, after every control is in place and locked down, what's your real weakest link in that security chain? Something to think about. Thanks so much for joining me, and good luck on that exam.